How awful.
Yo,
Yo.
my wine glass is heavy.
That's exactly what it should be.
Okay.
I see no problems.
We may or may not be fighting because I was singing Be a Song and she didn't notice, and it was a really romantic song. It went a little like this. Oh gosh, I don't remember it now. Too much pressure I put on myself.
Wow, it's so romantic.
Something about how we met across the lawn.
Oh, you were singing about our friendship?
Yes.
I thought you were just...
Oh, and then I said, how dear you are to me.
Oh, that's very sweet.
We met across the lawn.
You sing all the time. I don't pay attention.
And then we were friends that dawn.
But yeah, basically.
That's how it went, guys.
That's how it went, guys.
That's how it went. Ba-da-dee-da-ba.
Yeah. Do you remember our first sleepover at all? Any portion of it?
I do.
I remember us playing Barbies upstairs because we were 9.
Mm-hmm.
You were in your overalls. I remember things like this. And you were like, I want to, a drink or whatever. I was like, well, go ahead and get one, whatever. And you were like, I'm going to go downstairs by myself and get a drink, okay? Like, kind of weird.
Really
and
shy.
you went downstairs to get water and then ran upstairs like super wide-eyed. And I was like, what? What's wrong? And you're like, your dad. I was like, what about my dad? And you were like, he shaved his head.
This is slightly embarrassing.
Yeah, and I was like, what? You're like, his hair is gone. He shaved his head. And it like, I didn't expect it. And I was like, oh my God, Tanya, his hair is a toupee. He just took it off. He takes it off at night.
But like, that would be kind
But yeah, you had never, I don't think you knew what a toupee was at that stage.
I knew, but I didn't imagine that your dad had a toupee.
No, because he had a very good one.
Yeah, so
yeah.
when I saw him earlier that night, he had hair. And then I saw him moments later.
That would be jarring for any 9-year-old, I think.
I was like, what happened to his
That
head?
was also back when he would like sit on the couch in like no shirt, all of his hairy, big belly chest glory and no hair on his head.
That didn't really bother me.
No.
My dad never had shirts on.
I remember, the day I met your dad, he was in a towel and I was like, ah.
Sorry. I promise my dad's not weird like that.
No, it wasn't weird like that. It was literally like I was 9 and knocking on the door and he scurried in his wife's slippers.
And a towel.
And he was like, oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Come on in, little girl. I was like,
he's like, oh, Tanya's friend.
Yeah, he's an athlete. They don't think about it. It was fine. What was I going to say? Oh, I remember us arguing like heatedly about who had a hairier dad. Because you were convinced your dad was hairier than my dad. And I was like, in what universe?
I don't remember this, but I would believe it.
Yes.
Because I was just very...
You thought you had the hairiest dad of all the hairy dads. And I was like, did you see that wildebeest downstairs?
Oh, man.
It was one of our earlier fights and one of our only fights.
Guys,
whose dad
really,
had more body hair.
It mattered a lot.
It did.
We went to Knott's Scary Farm last night in Los Angeles. And boy, was it impressive.
Yeah. Okay, first, the negatives. Yes. There is no direction.
No, it's
you don't know how to get to the parking. You don't know how to get to the entrance. Yeah. You don't know how to get to the mazes. Once you find them, they're fun. You don't know. You can see the rides. Clearly, there are rides. Yeah. You don't know where to get on the rides.
And the park itself is an entire maze.
Yeah.
It's so confusing. I don't know where I'm going.
And super dark.
We walked in circles.
We walked in circles a whole lot.
Yeah. And maybe it would be easier during the daytime. Because I will admit, when we were at Universal for Horror Nights, I know Universal, and I was still kind of like, where am I?
Well, but they have those like big things up that point which way the mazes are. And the maze entrances are very, like, you can tell what they are.
Very clearly marked. Yeah.
Well, these was just like literally a person holding a pole with a sign on the pole.
It said entrance. And it didn't say for what
and
maze.
You're like, what is this for, though? And some of them were like, we had to follow a map. The map wasn't good.
No.
But
yeah, the mazes were really, really great. Really creative, very
the set
unique.
Design was crazy.
There was one maze that literally came alive. It was crazy.
Yeah, like it wasn't just a maze. There was like multimedia aspects. There were like screens involved. There was moments where like the floor would move. Mm-hmm. The lighting would kind of disorient you. I mean, I came home and had a severe vertigo moment, and I'd still do it again. There was one maze that made you feel like you were on a listing ship at one point, and then you come off, and the lighting makes it feel like you're in like waist deep water.
Yeah, which was really cool. I just pretended to swim the whole time.
And then the freaky people came up from underneath you, so you couldn't see them because the lighting, and then boop, there they were.
My favorite, both of our favorite one was Paranormal Ink, which was essentially
So
like
cool.
They gather you into a room, and it's like
you're going ghost hunting.
Yeah, it's like a group of people in this room.
Yeah.
And then they're like kind of putting on a performance where they're like, oh, it's the first time we're doing a live episode of Paranormal Ink. It's going to be crazy with a live audience. Oh my God. And then like the power goes out.
Yeah. It's like the cliche, what you expect, like putting on a show, but
a ghost like runs across the front of the room, and then there's other ghosts that come up from the ceiling. And then the doors or the walls start closing in, and you start being pushed into the maze, which I thought was really cool.
Really cool. But the thing that blew my mind about that is like, literally, when you're walking through a maze, you're looking around corners.
Yeah.
You're looking like you don't trust walls.
You can kind of tell though.
You can kind of tell where they are. This one, they were upside down on the ceiling, like crawling on the ceiling. And suddenly there's like a demon face hanging in front of you. And you look up and you're like, holy shit, they're on the ceiling.
How did they get there?
There was one where a girl was like sitting on a table and then she got sucked back into the wall. And we were like, where the hell?
Yeah,
where did she go? There wasn't like a flap. It looked like the wall was there.
Really, really fast.
Another guy was like climbing the wall. There was this gigantic dude that was all black on stilts that blended into the wall.
Oh, that guy was creepy. He looked like darkness.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
It was so crazy. And
the scare zones.
They were so good at deception because they would have you looking one way at something crazy that was happening, like an animatronic or something coming out of the wall. But then the scare actor would be on the other side. So you'd be like, whoa, this is insane. And then the scare actor would be right behind like your shoulder and freaking you out.
Yeah.
I'm not a jumpy person. I didn't jump once during horror nights, and that made me. I jumped. I had at least one good jump scare the entire time.
At Knott's.
At Knott's, yes.
Yeah, the scare zones too were really cool. Basically, the scare zones, if you haven't been to like a haunted maze or a haunted experience, kind of
haunted
at a theme park, are basically not mazes, but areas where you're walking through the park that have scare actors just waiting to scare you while you're walking.
Kind of like following you and
The scare zones were really clever, really fun.
They were really good. Like they would do like crazy fog so you couldn't really see where you were going, and then they would be there like holding a lantern. That dude just standing in the middle holding a lantern through the fog was so good.
The visuals were amazing.
The visuals were really, but they would like slide on their knees, and like they had these things on their knees that made like this horrible scraping sound when they would slide on their knees at you. It was freaky, but it was so good.
It was fun. We had a good time.
I was not convinced it was going to be that interesting. Like the pumpkin eater one, you were like inside a hollowed out pumpkin.
Yeah. That was the one that the maze was alive, right?
There were bits of it that were alive. Yeah, it would like breathe. Like the sides would breathe and stuff.
That's what I was like really impressed with was that one. And
I mean, I went through a clown one and I was like, this is so cool. I couldn't even be scared because I just thought it was such a cool experience.
The clown one, you walk through like a carnival tent. Mm-hmm. By the way, we aren't paid to talk about this.
No, we just love this stuff.
This isn't an ad. No. I just need to say that because I feel like
if you're in the Los Angeles, Orange County area, go to Not Scary Farms.
Yeah.
It's worth the money. It wasn't even that expensive, even though we were dodo birds.
I think it's like $60 general admission.
It was $56.
Yeah. So like a little under $60 general admission.
It was $56 general admission, $99 for the fast pass because you don't wait in line for any of the mazes.
So we paid like $150.
We only rode 2 rides. We realized very quickly we are too damn old for fast roller coasters.
Oh my God. We went on the scariest roller coaster I've ever been on my whole life.
Tanya had her eyes squeezed closed all the time. She was so quiet because typically she screams on roller coasters. She was so quiet. I was like, she passed out.
No, I just like got scared and I just went silent. I just wanted to
I was concerned. It was one of those ones where your feet dangle and I was just concerned about my shoes.
Yeah.
The whole time.
You know, I was actually scared because I did go dead quiet.
Yeah, you were dead quiet. Yeah. And at one point I almost wanted to be like, Tanya!
Yeah. I'm here. I'm just terrified and I would like this ride to end.
Yeah, it was, most of the ride was upside down. It was not the one. And then we got in line for another one and Tanya was looking at, because we couldn't really see what the rides were.
Because they were dark.
Tanya was looking at the description. She was like, I'm sorry. Or do we ride a horse for this roller coaster?
With our feet on the outside, like it's like shaped like a horse.
You literally straddle like a carousel horse and are strapped into this, and it's really fast.
And I was like, no, we're not riding
Yeah, we
this.
immediately noped out of that. Our poor vagines would not have recovered.
Pufferfish jeans.
Yes. They would not have recovered from the horse ride.
Oh man, but we would love to hear about your October activities.
Yeah. Where do you live? What do you guys have going on? What's your favorite Halloween activity? So we can put it on our to-do list because we do want to travel in Octobers.
So my friend Anthony is from New Jersey.
Tony.
And he was telling me about this maze that he went in like New Jersey, obviously.
Yeah.
It was like basically an abandoned field. And they created mazes within this abandoned field.
Perfect.
And there was like a corn maze.
Yeah.
And he said like through one of the mazes, there was like, it like got shrunk and you had to crawl out of it.
Absolutely not.
And when you crawl out of it, there was a scare actor waiting for you.
Nope.
There was another one where you had to like move through like.
How did he not
the
poop
inside?
his pants?
I don't know.
He is a scaredy boy.
There was one where you had to like move through the inside of a school bus. And you had to crawl out the back of the school bus to get out. And there was like scare actors in the bus with you.
I got it. Okay. Keep telling me.
Yeah. There was just like, it sounded crazy. Yeah. And then there's like a corn maze that you have to move through. And it's like, you have to get through the maze, but there's a lot of dead ends. And it just sounded horrifying. I was like, good for you.
That shocks me he did that.
I know. He's definitely.
I feel like we're going to Haunted Hayride, which is Los Angeles, kind of like cutesy one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not scary. They mean for it to be, but it's not. And I feel like Anthony will still be scared.
Yeah.
You'll probably hopefully meet Anthony this month.
We'll see if we can ask him to do an episode. I think he'd like that.
Yeah, we're trying to organize our bar crawl, our haunted bar crawl next weekend, and we would like him to come with us. You might meet him visually, and you know what? You're welcome. He's very cute.
Yeah, and he's allergic to our assistants.
Yeah, you can't come in our home. But no, what I was going to tell you is my brother was telling me about the craziest like haunted maze he ever went through. I mean, it was during his college days, but it was in Arizona, and it was to get to a rave. So he was on a bus.
Of course, this is actually kind of cool.
No, not a bus. Sorry, they parked in the parking lot, and it's like kind of in the middle of the desert. And then they get out, and I think he said they were like taken on like some sort of, he's going to correct me because my memory's horrible, but like a bus or like some sort of transportation or whatever.
Right.
And they were driven out into the middle of the desert, and it's pitch black.
Oh, God.
And they cut the lights on them, and then they have to get out and go through this insane, like, haunted desert experience where they're like coming out from behind rocks and just like there's all this lighting and just it's all craziness, and they're allowed to touch him and like all this stuff. And then the very end, you get to the end of the maze and it's this crazy rave. But he said like through the maze you can't hear the rave, which they're all like, where is it?
Yeah,
we should be able to hear it. Where is it? And it's because it was between these two like big gigantic rock formations.
Oh, it's like
so
a
that
valley.
Trapped the sound. So when they got there, it's just this gigantic, crazy, insane Halloween rave that he said he had like the most fun with. But they were there and they were like realizing they didn't know where their car was or like how to get back to their car.
Yeah.
So they asked like one of the workers at the rave, like, hey, when we want to go, where the hell is our car? And he was like, come here. And their car was literally on the other side of the rock. And they just had no idea the rave was there.
Yeah.
But he was telling me about that, and that sounded insane and very much something my brother in college would have done.
The rave culture is very fascinating to me.
Yeah.
It's cool.
He was very, very into the rave culture, very into DJing and EDM and into the dancing and the glow in the dark and the pacifiers and
Yeah, all that stuff.
All of that stuff. He used to make...
A true 90s teenager.
He used to make, like, the pacifier necklaces and, like, giving them to people at the raves was, like, significant.
Yes.
If you were given somebody's passy.
Wow.
My mom was like, my 19-year-old son has a pacifier around his neck that he regularly puts in his mouth. I don't know what to do with this.
Oh, yes. Quintessential 90s teenager.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Speaking of worst of times, should we dive in?
We should dive in. Because I got another doozy long one for you.
Yeah, Bee's going first today. She's going to tell us about some...
notorious serial killer.
Some spooky serial killer mans or womans. I don't know what you're doing.
Are we ready, guys? Notorious serial killer.
Is he? She's facing the wall. It's kind of weird.
Trigger warning. No, she's been doing that lately.
Yeah.
Trigger warning. It's going to be extreme violence.
You don't say.
Sexual assault.
Yeah, that's pretty on brand for serial killers.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. So just, sorry. Anyway, on May 21st, 1960, West Allis, Wisconsin, a son was born to Joyce Annette and Lionel Herbert, an analytical chemist. Their son would grow up to be one of the most notorious serial killers in history. The name they gave him would eventually strike fear in the entire nation. This is the story of Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer and his 17 victims.
Oh, Dahmer.
Dahmer. I had to go here.
Dahmer. I know a lot about Dahmer too, so I'm excited. I don't know why I said I'm excited.
I'm excited about Jeffrey Dahmer. Anyway.
That's not true. I'm just, I'm intrigued.
When Jeffrey was 8 years old, he moved with his family to Bath, Ohio. Dahmer grew increasingly withdrawn and uncommunicative between the ages of 10 and 15, showing little interest in any hobbies or social interactions. He biked around his neighborhood looking for dead animals, which he dissected at home or in the woods near his home. In one instance, he put a dog's head on a stake. Though fundamentally an outcast at Revere High School, Dahmer nonetheless became something of a cult figure among some students due to his impressions of his mother's interior decorator who suffered from cerebral palsy.
Oh.
Dahmer began drinking in his teens and was an alcoholic by the time of his high school graduation. His high school years would later be depicted in the film My Friend Dahmer, starring Ross Lynch as Dahmer and Nat Wolff as his high school best friend.
Which we watched.
Ross Lynch is very good in this movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah.
In 1977, Lionel and Joyce Dahmer divorced. If this wasn't hard enough on Jeff, then the fact that neither parents wanted him must have been.
You don't say.
They argued fiercely over his little brother David, but never once bothered to mention Jeffrey's living arrangements. Didn't care. Eventually, he went with his mother. Dahmer attended the Ohio State University, but dropped out after one quarter, having failed to attend most of his classes. He was drunk for the majority of the term. Dahmer's father then forced him to enlist in the Army. Dahmer did well at first, but he was discharged after 2 years because of his alcoholism. When the Army discharged Dahmer in 1981, he was provided with a plane ticket to anywhere in the country. Dahmer later told police he could not go home to face his father, so he headed to Miami Beach, Florida, because he was, quote, tired of the cold. Same. He spent most of his time there at a hospital, but was soon kicked out for drinking. After coming home, he continued to drink heavily, and he was arrested for drunk and disorderly conduct later in 1981. In 1982, Dahmer moved in with his grandmother in West Allis, where he lived for 6 years. During this time, his behavior grew increasingly strange. His grandmother once found a fully dressed male mannequin in his closet.
Ew.
Dahmer had stolen it from a store.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yikes.
On another occasion, she found
Why is that so much creepier than what I'm about to hear?
I don't know. On another occasion, she found a .357 Magnum under his bed. Terrible smells came from the basement. Dahmer told his father that he had brought home a dead squirrel and dissolved it with chemicals. He was arrested twice for indecent exposure in 1982 and 1986. In his second offense, he masturbated in front of 2 boys.
What a guy.
What a guy.
What a guy.
So really, like, no one saw this coming, is what I'm saying.
Izzy, I gotta tell you something.
Real sweet, real charming. What?
We're never gonna put your head on a stake.
Oh my God. Don't even joke. That's not even funny. Izzy.
It's never gonna happen.
Oh my God.
You'll protect.
Oh my God.
You're protected.
In summer 1988, Dahmer's grandmother asked him to move out because of his late nights, his strange behavior, and the foul smells from the basement.
You don't say. You gotta go, kiddo.
Stop dissolving squirrels in my basement, basically. He then found an apartment on Milwaukee's west side, closer to his job at the Ambrosia Chocolate Factory.
Chocolate
Willy
taco?
Wonka.
Yeah.
No. On September 26, 1988, one day after moving into his apartment, he was arrested for drugging and sexually fondling a 13-year-old boy in Milwaukee. He was sentenced to 5 years probation and 1 year in a work release camp. He was required to register as a sex offender. Dahmer was paroled from the work release camp 2 months early, and he soon moved into a new apartment. Shortly thereafter, he began a string of murders that ended with his arrest in 1991.
Oh, gosh. I know what's
Now we're
coming
going to get into it. Dahmer committed his first murder in the summer of 1978 at the age of 18. His father was away on business, and his mother had moved out, taking his brother with her. Dahmer was left behind, alone. That June, Dahmer picked up a hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks and offered to drink beer with him back at his father's house, planning to eventually have sex with him. When Hicks tried to leave, Dahmer bludgeoned Hicks to death with a 10-pound dumbbell, striking the back of his head, later saying he had committed the crime because, quote, the guy wanted to leave and he didn't want him to.
Oh, my God.
He then strangled him. Jeff then dragged the body into the crawl space under the house where it stayed for a few days. Eventually, the smell became quite strong, so Dahmer went down and cut the remains into pieces, placing them into small plastic bags. He then put the bags in the bushes behind the house, eventually burying them.
This is like beyond severe abandonment issues.
Yes. I'll kill you if you leave me.
Yeah.
Yeah. After a while, Dahmer began to worry about the neighborhood kids digging up the remains, so he dug them up and smashed the bones into pieces, which he scattered around the woods. Jeffrey Dahmer's crematorium.
What?
I don't know. Sorry. That wasn't funny.
What?
9 years passed before he killed again. So on September 15th, 1987, Dahmer spent the day drinking at a gay bar named Club 219 and met up with a gay man named Stephen Toomey.
Do you think that he was
I'm almost a month old. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Do you
2
think
months
that
old.
he was like, for those 9 years, like just waiting to get caught and then didn't get caught and was like, oh, I can do this?
Yeah, maybe.
Because I really wonder
Why he didn't, or if he did and
True.
we just never knew.
We might have not known about it.
So they chatted with each other for a few hours and eventually left together. They went to a hotel and rented a room. Dahmer
Who's that?
Dahmer claims he can't remember what happened once they got to the hotel, only that he drank a lot. He wasn't even sure if they had any form of sexual relations, but when he woke up, Tommy was dead. It seems Jeff beat him very badly and strangled him. After this, Jeff went out and bought a large suitcase, which he then stuffed the body inside and caught a taxi back to his grandmother's house, where he lived in the basement. Once there, he cut up the body, placed the pieces into garbage bags, and put it out by the curb with the rest of the day's trash.
Wow.
This was not caught.
No.
Imagine how many bodies the city
just been taken
sanitation
out.
has picked up.
Seriously. I'm assuming a lot.
Mm-hmm. On January 16th, 1988, Dahmer approached a young male sex worker, James Dockstader, age 14, and offered James money to make a video with him.
That's too young.
Way too young. He's a baby. James agreed, so Jeff took him home to his basement room. Dahmer then gave James a sleeping drug concoction, and once he passed out, Jeff strangled him. He then stripped the body of all flesh by using acid, then smashed the bones up with a sledgehammer. After he was satisfied with his work, he scattered the bone fragments. I'm going to tell you about all 17, so...
Strap in?
Strap in. That was 2.
Yeah.
On March 24th, 1988, Jeff met Richard Guerrero at a bar called The Phoenix. Guerrero was broke, so Jeff offered him some money if he would come back to his place and make a video. Guerrero agreed. Once back at Dahmer's, they had oral sex, then Jeff offered him a drink, and Richard accepted. Shortly after passing out, Richard was strangled, dismembered, and disposed of. He killed another boy in early 1989, usually picking up his victims in gay bars and having sex with them before killing them. It was around this time that Jeff's grandmother began to worry about the foul smell coming from the basement. When Jeff's father, Lionel Dahmer, inspected the room, he found a black sticky residue, similar to what acid does to flesh.
Oh my God.
Upon questioning his son about this, Jeff told his father he had been experimenting with animals. Since Lionel never really gave a shit what Jeff did, he accepted this and didn't bother to worry about it any further.
Oh yeah, sure.
But his grandmother did, and he was asked to move out. Dahmer soon got his own place at 808 North 24th Street. Just 24 hours after moving into his new apartment, Dahmer was in trouble with police.
Yeah.
He had conned a Laotian boy. I'm sorry, I'm going to ruin this. There's a lot of names that I'm going to struggle with. Keeson Synthosamphone. Keeson. I can say that part. Keeson, 13, into coming up to his apartment. Once there, Dahmer drugged and molested him, but the boy escaped. He reported the incident to the police, and Dahmer was charged with sexual assault and enticing a child for immoral purposes. He spent 1 week in jail before getting released on bail.
Yeah.
1 week in jail.
I remember there's a lot of weird fucking close calls.
Yep. On January 30th, 1990, Dahmer was found guilty, but sentencing wouldn't take place for another 4 months. On March 25th, 1990, Dahmer met Anthony Sears at La Cage, a gay bar. Dahmer took him back to his grandmother's house because he assumed the police were watching his apartment. Once there, they had sexual intercourse. Afterwards, Dahmer made him a drink, murdered him, and decided to keep the skull as a trophy. He would keep his skull up until his arrest. At Dahmer's sexual assault and enticing a child for immoral purposes sentencing on May 23rd, Dahmer pleaded with the judge for leniency, saying, quote, "I am an alcoholic and a homosexual with sexual problems."
Wow. Sure. Oh, you know what? That's okay then.
Okay. Okay, you just molested a 13-year-old.
No big deal.
The judge, William
God
Gardner,
damn.
decided to sentence him to 5 years probation and 1.5 years halfway house so he could continue to work.
Sure.
After serving his time in the halfway house, he moved into an apartment that later became infamous. Apartment 213, 924 North 25th Street, Milwaukee. Dahmer picked up the pace of his killing. 4 more murders before the end of 1990, 2 more in February and April 1991, and another in May 1991. So just 2 weeks after moving into the now infamous apartment building, it has since been demolished, so don't go looking for it. Dahmer met Ray Smith at Club 219. Ray was a newcomer to Milwaukee and seemed to run into the wrong guy at the wrong time. Jeff asked Ray back to his place to pose for some photos. Ray accepted this invitation, and once Jeff offered him a drink, Ray passed out. He strangled him, then stripped the body and had necrophilic sex with it.
No.
Yep.
Unsubscribe.
Yep. Can't unsubscribe. This was the first corpse that Dahmer admitted to having sexual intercourse with, but definitely not the last.
Cool.
Once he'd had his fun with Ray, he dismembered the body and threw it out with the trash. All except for the skull, he kept that and painted it to preserve it.
Oh, of course.
So this marks the beginning of his macabre collection of human souvenirs.
You know what? So everybody's got their thing.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer's is his victim's parts.
Sure. Is he okay?
She's kind of weirdly cuddling with my hand.
Okay.
But also looking very alarmed. Look, she's going upside down now.
Okay. She's trying to figure out how to be comfortable, but while also cuddling with your hand.
Oh, why are you rubbing your face? You're so cute.
You're so precious. Okay. Murder.
Sorry.
On
Back to murder, Izzy.
On June 14th, 1990, Dahmer met Eddie Smith. Eddie readily accepted Dahmer's advances and went back to Jeff's apartment where they had oral sex. Afterwards, Jeff offered Eddie a drink. Soon after Eddie passed out, Jeff strangled him, dismembered the body, then threw the remains out with the trash.
Patterns.
Yep. On July 8th, 1990, Jeff decided to vary his MO, deciding not to bother drugging his victim. Lucky.
Wow.
He had a 15-year-old Hispanic kid posing for photos when he picked up a mallet and tried to hit the boy in the head. The kid fought back and eventually escaped. The kid went to the police, but when he begged police not to tell his foster parents that he was gay, the police just ignored it. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. On September 3rd, 1990, Dahmer picked up Ernest Miller, took him home, had intercourse with him, drugged him, then changed his game plan a little. He didn't strangle Miller, he cut his throat instead. He then sliced off the biceps and put them in the freezer.
The biceps.
Yep.
What? Oh.
And then upon taking all the flesh from the bone, decided to keep the entire skeleton.
I love that you're telling me everything.
Yeah.
Did you know I wanted to know it all?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I didn't.
This is Halloween. This is Halloween. It was around this time that Jeff's neighbors started to complain about the putrid smell coming from his apartment.
Oh,
Dahmer explained to the landlord that his fridge was broken and he would get it fixed as soon as possible. That's the landlord's problem.
Smelly Jeff.
What are they feeding you?
Oh.
I mean, I did watch a documentary about him that interviewed his neighbors, and they talked about how he would like give them sandwiches and stuff, and that they're pretty sure that he was feeding his neighbors human flesh. Yeah. Sorry.
I don't have any comment. I literally can't. I'm speechless.
Yeah. Moral of the story, don't accept sandwiches from the stinky guy.
What do you think of Izzy's face right now?
I think it's gorgeous.
Look at it.
It's perfect.
Izzy, did you have some catnip or something?
No,
Or
she's
look a
just
little
very sleepy
stoned.
today. Oh, didn't she feel good? She pooped.
Oh, did you pookies?
She pookied.
You're okay. She's just old.
Yeah, she old. She a time fighter. September, October 1990, Jeff met David Thomas. Dahmer and Thomas were drinking in Dahmer's apartment when Jeff gave him his special drink.
I don't like his special drink. It's not special. Special's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, no,
Special
I don't like
is
it.
not horror.
No.
His horror drink.
This is the Cosby. Jeff didn't want to kill Thomas, but he was worried. Sorry. But he was worried he might be upset when he woke up. I'm not laughing at the women who were drugged by Cosby. I'm laughing at Cosby's expense.
That's fine.
He was worried he might be upset when he woke up that Jeff drugged him, so Jeff decided the best thing to do was to kill him anyway.
Oh, yeah. Let's just get this done with.
I don't want to be
guess.
upset. This time he filmed the whole dismemberment.
The whole thing?
He filmed it. He also took photos of David's severed head in various positions in his apartment. These photos were later viewed by Thomas's sister for identification purposes. The photos he took of his severed head, his sister had to look at to identify him.
Oh, I hate that.
Yep.
Oh, that's so heartbreaking. I hate that.
Yep. So on February 18th, 1991, Jeff met Curtis Straughter. Curtis wanted to be a model, so when Jeff mentioned he posed for photos, he gladly agreed. He was strangled while giving Jeff oral sex. Jeff kept the skull and painted it to preserve it. He also decided to keep the hands and penis as well.
So he's just like collecting more parts now.
Yeah.
Great.
On April 7th, 1991, Jeff met Errol Lindsay, a.k.a. Earl Lindsay, age 19, at a local bus stop. Earl was paid by Dahmer to come back to the apartment. Jeff offered him a drink, and he accepted, and soon Jeffrey was performing oral sex on his corpse. He kept the skull. Yeah. On May 24th, 1991, Jeff met Tony Hughes at Club 219. Hughes was a deaf mute.
Yes.
So Dahmer wrote his offer on paper and handed it to Tony. $50 to pose for some photos and watch some videos. Well, as I am sure you have probably already guessed, Dahmer drugged and strangled Hughes. Then Jeff left the corpse laying around his bedroom for a few days.
Yeah.
Just slept in the room with it.
Yeah, I remember this story.
Before dismembering it. So in the early morning hours of May 27th, 1991, 14-year-old, I cannot do this, Konarak Synthesophomophone.
Good job.
Synthesomphone. Konarak Synthesomphone.
We're going to go with it. I believe you.
The younger brother of the boy whom Dahmer had molested in 1988.
Oh.
So I think his name is Kirsten.
Yeah, interesting.
So this is his younger brother, Konarak. Was discovered on the street, wandering naked, heavily under the influence of drugs, and bleeding from his rectum.
Yes.
2 young women from the neighborhood found the dazed boy and called 911. Dahmer chased his victim down and tried to take him away, but the women stopped him. Dahmer told John Balserzak and Joseph Gabrish, police officers dispatched to the scene, that Konarak was his 19-year-old boyfriend and that they had an argument while drinking. Against the protests of the 2 women who had called 911, who recognized him from the neighborhood and insisted that he was a child and couldn't speak English, the officers turned him over to Dahmer.
Yeah. I remember this story.
Great at policing. They later reported smelling... Seriously. They later reported smelling a strange scent while inside Dahmer's apartment, but did not investigate it.
Yeah, because he brought them back to be like, look at this picture of me and my boyfriend.
Yeah.
But it was the pictures he had just freaking taken of him to prove that they had a relationship.
And they were like, this apartment smells weird, but let's not investigate it. Let's
like,
not do our actual job.
No, they walked in there, because this was what, the 70s, 80s at this point?
80s.
80s, they were like, oh, they're gay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, they were definitely like, I don't want to be in this room with gay men, because problematic men.
Yeah. So the smell was the body of Tony Hughes, Dahmer's previous victim, decomposing in the bedroom. So this was before...
The one that he had left.
Yeah, the one he just left before he dismembered him. So if they had just literally walked into his bedroom, they would have found a decomposing dead body.
Yeah. Just, keep walking, guys. Keep investigating.
The officers did not make any attempt to verify Konarak's age or identity, nor locate someone who could communicate with him, and failed to run a background check that would have revealed Dahmer being a convicted child molester still under probation. So later that night, Dahmer killed and dismembered Konarak, keeping his skull as a souvenir. This kid was so close.
Yeah.
So close.
It's so infuriating.
On June 30th, 1991, Dahmer traveled to Chicago for Gay Pride Day. Yay.
Welcome to Chicago.
His wallet was stolen at the event. While at a bus depot, he met Matt Turner, another guy that wanted to be a model. They're everywhere. Dahmer talked him into coming back to Milwaukee with him. Dahmer paid for Greyhound bus tickets for them both, and they were soon off on their 90-mile ride. Once safely back in the confines of his apartment, Dahmer drugged and strangled Turner. He then cut off Turner's head, wrapped it in a plastic bag, and placed it in the freezer. He then placed the torso in a blue 57-gallon barrel filled with acid.
Our entire apartment is creaking because of how windy it is.
It's super windy.
Look at Izzy's face.
She's concerned.
Are you okay? It's okay. Don't be worried.
On July 4th, 1991, Dahmer decided to pay another visit to Chicago. While there, he met Jeremiah Weinberger, age 23, at a local gay watering hole. Jeremiah even asked his roommate what he thought of Jeff. He seems all right, was what they said. Nothing about Dahmer seems all right.
No, he's also like weird.
Weird. He's not normal. Like, he wasn't
charming.
like the charming,
No.
oh, he's so nice, I would have never guessed it was him. Everyone could have guessed it was him.
Yeah, he was a weirdo. Not
So-
in a cute way.
No. So Jeremiah decided to go back to Milwaukee with Jeff.
Oh.
Jeff again paid for Greyhound bus tickets for the 90-mile ride back to his place. Once they arrived back at Jeff's, they had mutual sex, and Jeremiah spent the night. But when Jeremiah got sick of having sex with Jeff, he said he was going home. So he kept him alive for longer than normal.
Yeah.
Jeff said fine, then offered him a farewell drink.
Hmm.
Jeff then strangled him. Jeremiah's head was found in Jeff's freezer. On July 12th, 1991, Jeff met Oliver Lacey, age 23. They went back to Jeff's place, had a drink, fooled around, then Jeff strangled him. Then Jeff decided to get into some necrophilic sex and sodomize the corpse.
Oh, off he goes.
He then sliced the right bicep off and ate it.
Another bicep. What's with the biceps?
But this time he ate it.
Yeah.
This time he ate it.
Right. Well, I was waiting for him to start eating them because
He
I know he
placed
does.
Lacey's head in the fridge next to an open box of Armie Hammer baking soda.
Ew, I literally was about to say.
Armie Hammer baking soda.
And
Literally,
then he goes Armie Hammer on him.
after he's a cannibal, he pastes it next to the cannibal baking soda. And his heart in the freezer to eat later. He also put another body part in the freezer. He put the rest of the flesh into the trash, and he kept the entire skeleton. It was at this time that Dahmer was suspended from his job at the Ambrosia Chocolate Factory. This whole time, he's just Willy freaking Wonka.
Yep. Meanwhile,
It seems that he spent a few too many days at home with his friends.
his quote friends, aka his dead body.
That's why he was suspended, because he spent too much time at home with his bodies. This really upset Jeff, and then on July 19th, he was fired completely.
Yeah.
On July 19th, 1991, Jeff met Joseph Brandhoft at a local bus stop. It was pouring down rain, and Joseph had a six-pack of beer on him, so we decided to go back to Jeff's to party a bit. Once there, they had oral sex, then Dahmer drugged and strangled him, slept with the body for the next few days until the head became infested with maggots.
Oh, good God. Where did
Yeah.
they come from?
Maggots form on decaying things,
Oh, good.
and then they become flies.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Jeff cleaned it and put it in the freezer along with the heads of Turner and Weinberger. He placed the torso in the 57-gallon barrel in the bedroom. Just keeps that in there. Dahmer seemed to have very little control at this point. He seemed to care very little. He was becoming extremely sloppy, and it was only a matter of time before his world would completely collapse.
Yeah, clearly.
On July 22nd, 1991, Dahmer lured another man, Tracy Edwards, into his home. According to the would-be victim, Dahmer struggled with Edwards in order to handcuff him, but ultimately failed to cuff his wrists together. Wielding a large butcher knife, Dahmer forced Edwards into the bedroom, where Edwards saw pictures of mangled bodies on the wall and noticed the terrible smell coming from a large blue barrel. The barrel was filled with potent acid, which dissolved human bodies to sludge for disposal via the apartment toilet.
Oh, wow.
Edwards punched Dahmer in the face, kicked him in the stomach, ran for the door, and escaped.
Yes.
Running through the streets with handcuffs still hanging from one hand, Edwards waved for help to a police car driven by Robert Routh and Rolf? R-O-L-F.
Yeah, Rolf.
Rolf Mueller of the Milwaukee Police Department. Edwards led police back to Dahmer's apartment, where Dahmer at first acted friendly.
Hey, guys.
What's up, guys? Pay no attention to the dismembered bodies everywhere. However, Edwards remembered that the knife Dahmer had threatened him with was in the bedroom. When one of the officers checked the bedroom, he saw the photographs of mangled bodies and called for his partner to arrest Dahmer. Upon searching the apartment, the box of baking soda in the refrigerator hardly absorbed the odors of a decomposing severed head.
Mm-hmm.
The freezer had 3 more heads stored neatly in plastic bags and tied with plastic twisties. There was a door that led to the bedroom closet, and bath, which had been outfitted with a deadbolt lock. Anne E. Schwartz, the reporter who was first on the scene, described what she saw in her book, The Man Who Could Not Kill Enough. Great title. Quote, in the back of the closet was a metal stock pot that contained decomposed hands and a penis.
Yeah.
Fun. On the shelf above the kettle were 2 skulls. Also in the closet were containers of ethyl alcohol, chloroform, and formaldehyde, along with some glass jars holding male genitalia preserved in formaldehyde. Polaroid photos taken by Dahmer at various stages of his victims' deaths. One showed a man's head with the flesh still intact, lying in a sink. Another displayed a victim cut open from the neck to the groin like a deer gutted after the kill.
Who is developing these pictures?
They're Polaroids.
Oh, God.
So the cut's so clean, I could see the pelvic bone clearly, she said.
Oh, God.
Some of the photos were his victims before he murdered them in various erotic and bondage poses. The case became the biggest serial murder case of the decade.
Yeah.
The story of Dahmer's arrest and the inventory in his apartment quickly gained notoriety. Several corpses were stored in acid-filled vats, and implements for the construction of an altar of candles and human skulls were found in his closet. Accusations soon surfaced that Dahmer had practiced necrophilia and cannibalism. 7 skulls were found in the apartment. A human heart was found in the freezer. Dahmer was indicted on 17 murder charges, later reduced to 15 for some reason.
Weird.
Dahmer was not charged in the attempted murder of Edwards. His trial began on January 30th, 1992. With evidence overwhelmingly against him, Dahmer pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. The trial lasted 2 weeks. The court found Dahmer sane and guilty on 15 counts of murder and sentenced him to 15 life terms, totaling 957 years in prison, which was the maximum penalty available as Wisconsin abolished capital punishment in 1853. So couldn't kill him.
Yeah.
At his sentencing hearing, Dahmer expressed remorse for his actions and said that he wished for his own death. In May of that year, Dahmer was extradited to Ohio, where he entered a plea of guilty for the murder of his first victim, Stephen Hicks.
No.
Dahmer served his time at the Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage, Wisconsin, where he ultimately declared himself a born-again Christian.
Sure.
Roy Ratcliffe, a local preacher from the Churches of Christ, met with Dahmer and agreed to baptize him. Dahmer was attacked twice in prison. The first time in July 1994, an inmate attempted to slash Dahmer's throat with a razor blade while Dahmer was returning to his cell from a church service in the prison chapel. Dahmer escaped the incident with superficial wounds. While doing janitorial work in the prison gym, Dahmer and another inmate, Jesse Anderson, were severely beaten by fellow inmate Christopher Scarver with a broomstick handle on November 28, 1994. Dahmer died of severe head trauma while on his way to the hospital in an ambulance. Woohoo! Yeah! Woo! Oh, okay. Anderson died 2 days later from his wounds. Sorry, I thought we were going to celebrate.
Oh, sorry. Yay!
Yay! Dahmer died of severe head wounds. Woo! Upon learning of his death, Dahmer's mother, Joyce Flint, responded angrily to the media, quote, "Now is everybody happy?
Oh.
Now that he's bludgeoned to death, is that good enough for everyone?" End quote.
I feel bad for his mother.
I always feel bad for their family.
Yeah.
The response of the families of Dahmer's victims was mixed. Although it appears most were pleased with his death, the district attorney who prosecuted Dahmer cautioned against turning Scarver into a folk hero, noting that Dahmer's death was still murder.
Yeah.
Dahmer's estate was awarded to the families of 11 of his victims who had sued for damages. In 1996, Thomas Jacobson, a lawyer representing 8 of the families, announced a planned auction of Dahmer's estate to raise up to $1 million, sparking controversy. Because he's auctioning off serial killer shit. A civic group...
Yeah, but weirdos like that
I know they do. I'm looking at you, Bagels.
Bagels.
I think he owns something in his
I'm sure
haunted museum.
I'm sure he does.
A civic group, Milwaukee Civic Pride, was quickly established in an effort to raise the funds to purchase and destroy Dahmer's possessions. The group pledged $407,225, including a $100,000 gift by Milwaukee real estate developer Joseph Zilber for purchase of Dahmer's estate. 5 of the 8 families represented by Jacobson agreed to the terms, and Dahmer's possessions were destroyed and buried in an undisclosed Illinois landfill. In January 2007, evidence surfaced potentially linking Dahmer to Adam Walsh's 1981 abduction and murder in Florida. So there you go. He would have been between Stephen Hicks.
Interesting, yeah.
And the other ones. However, Adam's father, John Walsh, believed that another serial killer, Otis Toole, committed the crime. When interviewed about Adam Walsh in the early 1990s, Dahmer repeatedly denied involvement in the crime. In 2008, Florida police declared the Walsh case closed, naming Toole, who died in prison in 1996, as the killer. And that is the story of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oof, there was something that I did hear about Jeffrey Dahmer that I don't know that you mentioned. Is there was a point in which he was drilling acid into people's heads?
Oh yeah, there was. I don't know. I read that and then I must have forgot to put it. He was drilling holes. He was pouring boiling kettle water into
Yeah, that's
their
what it was.
skulls to like. He wanted to turn them into like zombies that he could have sex with without
Yeah.
killing them, but it was killing them.
Yeah.
He tried drilling a hole and injecting acid into their brain.
Yeah.
To like make them zombies again, killing them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, disgusting.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember this
Yeah.
thing that really bothered me.
So my sources was obviously Jeffrey Dahmer Wikipedia, biography.com article about Jeffrey Dahmer, biography.com article. It's the timeline of Jeffrey's murders. A New York Post article called Meet the Prisoner Who Murdered Killer Cannibal Jeffrey Dahmer. A crimemuseum.org article called Serial Killers Jeffrey Dahmer. The Jeffrey Dahmer Files documentary, the Dahmer film, My Friend Dahmer film, and Jeffrey Dahmer Mind of a Monster film.
Deep breaths all.
Deep breaths.
Deep breaths all around.
We got through it. You did it.
But don't worry, because mine is spooky, but also kind of fun.
Should we pause for one?
Oh yeah, I'm empty.
Yeah, I can imagine after having to listen to that. Yar. Wine glass, please.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're drinking our favorite white, a Sancerre.
Yeah, we love a Sancerre.
It's Laurent Reverdy.
If you ever want to buy us wine,
it's from Trader Joe's.
We love Sancerre for a white wine.
We love Sangiovese.
And we love Sangiovese for a red wine.
We do.
Just saying.
Truth. Or a good Côte de Rhône.
Oh, Côte de Rhône. Okay.
All right, tell me about a paranormal murder, friend.
Madames, messieurs, les bébés.
Les bébés?
No, they bébés.
Oh, they bébés.
Yeah, I didn't want to exclude the theys. So they bébés.
They bébés. Okay. Madame, messieurs, they bébés.
We have a story for you.
Love it.
In the early 1800s, John Bell and his wife, Lucy Bell, moved their family from North Carolina to the Red River community in Robertson County, Tennessee. You know what I'm talking about. Yes. Which later became the present-day Adams, Tennessee. John and Lucy had 7 children. Jesse, John Jr., Drury, I think.
Me and my mom wanted to go to the Bellwitch house,
No.
but it was like an hour out of Tennessee, where we were.
It doesn't exist. There is a house, but it's not. I'll explain.
Okay.
Drury. We're still on this. Because it's like flowery.
What is it? How to spell it?
Like Drew with an R-Y at the end.
Yeah, Drury. I'm sorry, Drury.
Drury. And
Drury.
Benjamin, Esther, this poor child, Zadok?
Zadok?
Yeah, Zadok.
Oh man, Zadok. Okay.
Zadok and Elizabeth, aka Betsy.
Betsy.
Bell purchased some land and a large house for his family. He also became an elder of the Red River Baptist Church. Now, can you please explain to me what an elder in the Baptist Church is? Because I don't actually understand. I read that and I was like, oh, I'm going to ask B about that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Elders are kind of like, I'm trying to think of it in terms of Catholicism. They're like,
you don't have to.
Did you guys have deacons?
Yeah, but I don't really know.
Or bishops, even?
Yeah, I know those are names.
So
but
there's
I don't
like
know
the
what
priest, and then there's like the people under the priest.
Oh,
that
yes.
kind of like not serve the priest, but like kind of like the priest's assistants.
Like an altar boy?
No, because they're not boys, they're elders. Yeah, it's like
altar man? Altar elder?
I'm trying to think. Okay, I know you probably don't remember him from my church. Eldridge. He was always in a
Was
suit.
he an elder?
Yes.
Wait.
Yes.
Eldridge the elder?
Yes. He was always in a suit. He was real skinny. He had like wire frame glasses.
Yes.
He was real sweet.
Yes.
He was an elder. Franklin.
What did they do?
They collect like the
this is like a modern day elder, of course.
Yeah,
this is the 1800s
I'm like
you're talking about.
forgetting that it's called tithes. It's the offering. They collect like the money.
Oh yeah. So they're like
just kind of like spokespeople
like
for the
assistants.
church. Yeah, they're like church assistants.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, John Bell is a church assistant.
He's an elder.
One day in 1817, John Bell was inspecting his cornfield.
That's
when he
true.
met a strange-looking animal.
Was he like, that's some corn? I have inspected that
Just-
that is in fact corn.
Clearly a badger fox.
Badger fox? Wait, what did you say? Wait.
He was inspecting his cornfield when he met a strange-looking animal. Remember when we were driving to the
the
cornfield?
badger fox, I know.
Clearly, it's the badger fox.
The badger fox.
This is just me making a joke that didn't land. It's fine. Moving on. Sitting in the middle of a corn row. It wasn't a badger fox. I'm just trying to make a joke.
Got it.
If you've listened to previous episodes, you know what we're talking about. It had the
Red
body
rocks.
of a dog and the head of a rabbit.
So it wasn't a badger fox.
No, but like badger fox could have happened. Maybe I saw a demon.
It's a rabbit dog.
Maybe I saw a demon.
Maybe you saw a demon.
Anyway, this
That's
is a
how
rabbit
dog
dog. This is
works.
different. Belle shot at it because apparently it had a gun on him
She's like, ah!
several times, but the animal vanished. This was the first documented manifestation of the entity known as the Bell Witch.
Witch.
When I say documented, he wrote letters to people, and the letters were since found. So when I say documented, I mean like he literally wrote letters and was like, I saw this weird thing.
Yeah.
And he's telling his friends about it.
Got it.
Belle didn't think much of the incident, at least not until after dinner, when the family began hearing beating sounds.
Beating? Like somebody's
Beating.
being beat.
Yeah.
Or like beating heart.
like beating the walls.
Oh, okay. I don't
Pounding,
like that.
maybe,
No,
I
I
should
don't
say.
like that.
On the outside walls of their log home. The sounds continued nightly with increased frequency and force. Bell and his sons often hurried outside to catch the culprit, but always returned empty-handed. I said that sounds really weird.
Empty-handed. Always returned empty-handed.
Okay.
Not at all.
In the weeks that followed, the Bell children...
Not the Bill children.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Bill children.
Bell children.
The children's.
In the weeks that followed, the Bell children began waking up frightened, complaining that they heard knocking on the door and windows, the sound of wings flapping against the ceilings, and the sound of rats gnawing on bedposts. Ew, I hate that so much.
Very specific.
More disturbingly than rats gnawing on the bedposts,
Uh-huh.
the sound of choking and strangling could be heard along with chains dragging and heavy objects hitting the floor.
Why did I just picture... Do you remember that scene in She's All That?
Where are you going with this?
Where he's at the Laney's art show and that little person runs to the front and goes,
No.
like
please
he's
no.
strangling?
I don't like that sound. Yes, I remember this scene.
Why did that make me think of that sound when you said the strangling sound? I just immediately pictured the little person be like,
Anyways. Sounds emanating from the bedroom as if beds were suddenly and roughly pulled apart. And sounds of fighting dogs chained together. In all cases, the source of the noise was never found. No rats were found in the home, despite thorough searching. And no damage to the furniture was ever discovered.
ooh, this house is haunted.
Yeah, for reals.
Yeah.
Not long after the sounds, the children began complaining of their bed covers being pulled off and their pillows tossed on the floor by a seemingly invisible entity.
Good on that.
As time went on, the Bells began hearing faint, whispering voices, too weak to understand but sounded like a feeble old woman singing hymns. It began to zero in on the Bells' youngest daughter, Betsy, by pulling her hair and slapping her relentlessly, often leaving welts and handprints on her face and body. John Bell had vowed his family to secrecy, not wanting to seem like the weird family on the block that has this crazy haunting. But the events escalated enough that he confided in his closest friend and neighbor, James Johnston. Skeptical at first, Johnston and his wife spent the night at the Bell home. Things began peacefully, but once they went to bed, they were subjected to the same terrifying disturbances that the Bells had been experiencing. By the way, I never announced this. I'm doing paranormal murder.
I said it.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Okay, never mind. Moving on.
They gonna die by the ghosties is what we...
Somebody is.
Someone's gonna die.
Spoiler alert. Someone's going to die.
Someone's gonna die by the Bell Witch ghosty.
After their bed covers were yanked off and James was slapped, he sprang out of bed, exclaiming, quote, "In the name of the Lord, who are you and what do you want?"
No, they're Southern.
whatever. I don't care.
In the name of the Lord.
Yeah, but this is the 1800s.
Oh,
So they were
still.
probably not Southern.
When
they're
did that
probably-
accent come into play?
They were probably still British.
In the name of the Lord.
The entity did not respond and was tame the rest of the night. The next
Damn,
morning,
you didn't have to yell at me.
yeah, Mr. Johnston explained to the bells that the culprit was likely an evil spirit, the kind the Bible talks about.
Okay.
The entity's voice strengthened over time. It sang hymns, quoted scripture, carried on intelligent conversation,
Okay.
and once even quoted, word for word, 2 sermons that were preached at the same time on the same day, 13 miles apart. It declared, quote, I am a spirit. I once was very happy, but I have been disturbed and made unhappy. I am the spirit of a person who was buried in the woods nearby, and the grave was disturbed, my bones disinterred and scattered.
They really gave a diatribe.
And one of my teeth was lost under this house. I am here looking for that tooth. End quote.
This is the Tooth Fairy's origin story. You're welcome.
In another event, the witch claimed to be a, quote, a spirit from everywhere, heaven, hell, the earth. Am in the air. Sorry.
What?
The houses, any place at any
What?
time. I'm just tying at the am in the air.
I'm in the air.
It'd be like me. I'm like, I'm hungry.
I'm hungry. I'm in the house.
It's just funny because it's like the dog meme.
I'm here.
I'm hap.
I'm hap.
Anyways, she's am in the air.
I'm in the air.
Am in the air, the houses, any place at any time.
I'm here, guys.
Have been created millions of years. End quote. All the stuff about the am in the middle was not quoted. That was just us riffing. In case you couldn't
Thanks for
tell.
clarifying.
Word of the Bell Witch soon spread outside the settlement all the way to Nashville, where then Major General and former President Andrew Jackson became interested in the so-called Bell Witch. John Bell Jr. and his brothers, Drury and
Drury.
Jesse, I don't like that guy's name, Drew and Jesse,
Drew and Jesse.
had fought under General Jackson in the Battle of New Orleans. When General Jackson heard about the disturbances at the Bell home in 1918, he decided to pay a visit and investigate. As Jackson and his men approached the Bell property, their wagon jolted to a sudden stop.
Jolted.
The men assumed that they were stuck in a muddy creek bed and that the horses couldn't pull themselves out. After several minutes of cursing and trying to coax the horses into pulling the wagon out, Jackson proclaimed, quote, by the eternal boys, that must be the Bell Witch, end quote.
I like that flex. Blame
Then-
everything on her.
A disembodied female voice told Jackson that they could proceed and that she would see them again later that evening. They were then
Amherst.
able to pull the wagon out and get to the Bell property. One of the men claimed to be a witch tamer. After several uneventful hours, he pulled out a pistol and proclaimed that its silver bullet would kill any evil spirit that it came into contact with. He went on to say that the reason nothing had happened to them was because whatever had been haunting the Bells was scared of his silver bullet. Immediately,
They're terrified.
the man screamed and began jerking his body in different directions, claiming that he was being struck by pins and beaten severely. A strong,
Very
swift kick
dramatic.
to the man's junk came from an invisible foot and sent him out the front door.
It's me on the foot.
The entity spoke and announced that there was yet another fraud in Jackson's party and that she would identify him the following evening. Now terrified, Jackson's men begged to leave the Bell farm. Jackson insisted on staying. He wanted to know who the other fraud was. The men eventually went outside to sleep in their tents while continuously begging Jackson to leave. What happened next is not necessarily clear, but Jackson and his entourage were spotted in nearby Springfield early the next morning, going back to Nashville. So they bailed.
Got it.
Some allege that Jackson later proclaimed, quote, I would rather fight the British at New Orleans than fight the Bell Witch, end quote.
She nasty.
John Bell himself had been experiencing episodes of twitching in his face and difficulty swallowing for almost a year, and it grew worse with time. By the fall of 1820, his declining health had confined him to the house, where the entity continuously removed his shoes when he tried to walk, slapped him in the face when he recovered from his numerous seizures. Her shrill voice was heard all over the farm, cursing and chastising, quote, old Jack Bell, the nickname she had given him.
Yeah.
John Bell breathed his last breath on the morning of December 20th, 1820, after slipping into a coma a day earlier. Immediately after his death, his family found a vial of strange black liquid in the cupboard. John Jr. sprinkled 2 drops on the cat's tongue. I don't like this part.
We don't test on animals.
The cat jumped up, rolled over midair, and was dead when it hit the floor.
You take it your damn self, Drury.
The entity, it's actually Jesse,
Oh,
John
Jess.
Jr. that did this.
Well, whatever. He could have given it to
There's
Drury
too many.
because we don't like his name.
There's too many sons. John Jr. did this. The entity exclaimed, I gave old Jack a big dose of that last night, which fixed him. John Jr. tossed the mysterious vial into the fireplace, and it burst into a bright blue flame and shot up the chimney. John Bell's funeral was one of the largest ever held in Robertson County. As the crowd of mourners began leaving the graveyard, the Bell Witch laughed and sang a song about a bottle of brandy. Her singing did not stop until the last mourner left the graveyard.
And they're not like, where's the singing coming from?
They
They're
all
just
know it's the Bell Witch at this point.
Okay.
The entity's presence was almost non-existent after John Bell's demise, as though it had fulfilled its purpose.
Okay, then what did that nasty old man do to be haunted and killed but like this? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. He owned enslaved people.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
Which is pretty crappy
That'll do it.
of him. John's youngest daughter, Betsy Bell, has grown now and became interested in Mr. Joshua Gardner, a young man who lived nearby. With the blessings of their parents, they decided to marry. Everyone was happy about their engagement, save for the Bell Witch, who became furious.
She's back.
She repeatedly ordered Betsy not to marry Joshua. Betsy and Joshua couldn't go anywhere together without the entity nagging them. The constant pressure was more than Betsy Bell could handle, and on Easter Monday of 1821, she met Joshua at the river and broke off their engagement. In April of 1821, because then she ended up marrying her school teacher.
Oh.
Yeah, not cool. Go for the childhood sweetheart, please.
Go, yeah. What is... Okay.
In April of 18...
I've had some friends like the Bell Witch.
Yeah, same.
I don't like you liking that guy for no reason.
In April of 1821, shortly after Betsy Bell had broken off her engagement, the entity visited John Bell's widow, Lucy Bell, and told her that it was leaving but would return in 7 years. Just a quick note, the Bell Witch really, really liked Lucy Bell. Never tormented Lucy, told Lucy that she was one of the most amazing women she'd ever met in her life.
She was a hype man.
She was like really down with Lucy Bell, even took care of Lucy when Lucy was sick.
But nobody sees this?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a spiritual entity. My personal thought process is that she's demonic, obviously.
Okay.
Um,
Or the entity of an enslaved person who took care of
maybe.
the children.
Lucy Bell was an adult. She was the wife. That's the mother.
Oh. I thought Lucy was the kid for some reason. Well, I
That's
mean,
Betsy.
there are some that fostered actual relationships with the women of the house.
True. I don't know.
So it might have had something to do with that.
It could.
Why she came so hard for John.
There's some theories, but I'll get into those.
Okay.
As promised, she returned in 1828. Most of the return visits centered on John Bell Jr., who the entity discussed the origin of life, civilizations, Christianity, and the need for a major spiritual reawakening.
Sure.
Of particular significance were its predictions of the Civil War and other major events, some of which she missed. The entity that tormented the Bell family and the Red River settlement almost 200 years ago is often blamed for unexplainable manifestations that occur near the old Bell farm today, which will also include the Bell Cave, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
There is a cave that is adjacent to the property of the Bell farm.
Yeah.
That she supposedly haunts. The faint sounds of people talking and children playing can sometimes be heard in the area, and it's not uncommon to see candlelights dance through the dark fields late at night. Photography is especially difficult. Some pictures taken in the area show mist, orbs of light, and other phenomena, including human-like figures who were not present when the pictures were taken. So my sources.
Okay.
There's a whole Bell Witch website. So
Okay.
that was one of my sources. Tennessee State Library and Archives. There's a section in them called the Tennessee Myths and Legends, and they discuss the Bell Witch. And I watched a Ghost Adventures episode
Oh,
on
bagels.
the Bell Witch Cave,
I'm sure he was
which
terrified of the Bell Witch.
this is where I'm going to get into some of the theories
Okay.
that I don't agree with.
Okay.
Apparently, before the Bell family owned the land, Native Americans owned the land, which I think goes to show for every single piece of land in the United States.
Literally all land is their land.
That to me is kind of just a ridiculous statement. Well, it used to belong to Native Americans. Well, yeah, all of America belonged to Native Americans. Happy Indigenous Day.
Yes.
This is the day we are recording. Yeah, so I thought that, and they kept referring to them as Indians the entire episode, which was really annoying. So one of their theories
can't even do the bare minimum, so I'm not surprised.
So one of those theories was that it was cursed land.
Got it.
And that's what the Bell Witch was, which I don't buy.
No.
I think the land was haunted. I think she told them exactly who she was.
Yeah.
She was somebody who died, who didn't want to die, and she is looking for her tooth.
Give him a damn tooth, John!
The episode was actually kind of entertaining, besides the whole problematic aspect of them just repeatedly using the word Indians. They investigated the home of Drury. He owned a home on the property.
Okay.
And that's maybe the home that you're thinking of.
Maybe.
It's not technically the Bell home because the Bell home is torn down. It doesn't exist anymore.
What is the Bell Witch?
So he went in the home and they heard a lot of voices in the home. One of which saying, careful.
Oh yeah, it's the cave.
Yeah, so the cave exists.
And cabin.
And the cabin is Drury's cabin.
Okay.
So that's where they investigated, was the cabin and the cave.
There's Bell Witch Fest.
It's an entertainment. It's an entertaining episode. If you're into Ghost Adventures, you can check it out. But I think it's just called the Bell Witch episode, and there was a lot of different seasons and episode numbers, so I kind of had to find it. So I don't
it's
actually
hard
know
to find
what episode number it is because I don't know. I found it on Amazon.
Maybe I'm thinking of someplace else. Not the Bell. I know about the Bell Witch, but maybe I was thinking of some other place in Tennessee. But yeah.
But anyway, yeah, the Ghost Adventures episode I didn't actually take much information of.
No, because there's never information to take from it.
It was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
But it was entertaining. I watched it at work today.
Sure. I mean, if there is an episode pertaining to what I'm researching, I always watch it. And I'm always...
Just in case.
Yeah, like, oh, Jesus Christ. This man has so much money.
Oh, yeah. But yeah.
He doesn't deserve a dime of it.
There was even somebody who I think was married to one of the older daughters in the Bell family that tried to kill the Bell Witch. Apparently, she was in bed with him, and he wrapped the entity in a blanket and tried to throw her in the fire, and it did not work.
He wrapped the entity in a blanket.
Yes, I think his name was William Randall.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. It's just a very fascinating story. It's one of the oldest haunting stories in the United States.
Yeah.
Maybe the oldest.
Yeah.
It's also one of the most prolific haunting stories in the U.S. and maybe one of the only paranormal murder stories that is documented.
Interesting.
So.
Sorry. I didn't think it would be that hard.
No, it's okay, but I found it. And I was really, really thrilled. This was actually a topic that I had saved for witches.
Yeah, so did I. I need to I had it saved as paranormal.
So
take it off my list.
Yeah, sorry.
A little listy
But
list.
it's a good one. It's an interesting one. It's a quirky one.
It is. I mean, it's a good one.
Anyway.
John and Betsy Bell are possessions under possessions.
Oh, yeah, that works too.
Interesting.
She's demonic. She's a demon.
Right.
That's what I think. There's also somebody who worked at the cave that claims they saw a little boy in the cave. And we all know that the sighting of children can sometimes be demonic.
Demonic, yeah.
There was also something about how the Bell Witch knocked 3 times on their door every time she knocked. And
Threes are...
Three is kind of mocking the Holy Trinity.
Right.
So that's very common in like demonic stories. Is the whole idea of the threes. So there's that. There's just a lot of things pointing to the idea of potentially a demon.
Yeah.
Do I believe that? I don't know. But we run a paranormal true crime podcast, and we are supposed to believe everything we talk about. So I believe in the Bell Witch.
I believe.
I drink to that. I drink to this.
I got no more drink to drink.
How about you tell me something wonderful then?
So there's that. Okay, something wonderful is I am not afforded the opportunity to make friends often.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also not very good at making friends often, but I feel like in this last week I've made a few friends.
Yeah.
Thanks to you. I've met some of Tanya's work friends and hit it off pretty well with a few of them.
Yeah, I'd say few.
Yeah, and now I would like to consider them my friends, and hopefully we'll get to make adventures.
And hang out with new friends.
Yeah.
Definitely new friends is up there for me too.
Yeah, and we got to go to the Troubadour.
Yeah.
Which
so fun.
Was great to be out in a concert environment, even though it was just to support a friend, which was nice. And that was a fun night out in WeHo to cut up the week a little bit.
That was really fun. It was actually a really fun night.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I'd say that's a really good wonderful. That's like a real life wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
My wonderful is not as cool as that one.
That's fine. I'm cooler than you.
I'm going to go with, and I already told B about this, but I watched the first episode of WandaVision.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm really digging it, and I think it's really cool. Mm-hmm. I can't say the whole show is a wonderful because I haven't seen it all, so don't judge me if it gets sucky. But WandaVision is pretty cool, and I'm pretty down with it.
I mean, I love Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah.
I would watch it.
I do too.
If I felt like I would understand it, but I know I wouldn't.
I'm a big fan of the Marvel Universe. I don't think you need to know about the Marvel Universe to get WandaVision, because it's kind of... I mean, here's the thing. I know about their relationship, but they give you context clues.
Okay.
Usually all of the Marvel movies do give you context clues. In theory, you could go see any of them and kind of catch up. Yeah. Because they try really hard. They also sneak in some fun bits if you haven't seen all the others. I'm a big Marvel fan. I recently watched all of them in 2019. I went through chronologically and started, even though I'd seen some of them, but I started chronologically. I started Iron Man.
I've seen none of them.
I mean, they're just so fun.
Never seen any of the Iron Man movies. I've seen...
The Avengers are really good.
I haven't seen any of the Avengers movies.
Yeah. I like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
I haven't seen those either. I've seen Black Panther.
That's a standalone. I think you'd like Captain Marvel too.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel's cool.
And it's female-led, and it's Brie Larson, who I...
And it's like 80s, 90s,
love.
I think. So it's fun.
I've seen Wonder Woman. I've seen those too.
That's DC. Sorry. Not Marvel.
Well, I'm going to see the Eternals. Is that Marvel?
Yes. Marvel is like Spider-Man, Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy is Marvel.
I haven't seen Thor. I haven't seen any of these.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of the Tom Holland
You and
Spider-Mans.
I kind of fell down the whole X-Men.
Oh, yeah, love X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I think you'd like... I actually think you'd
I'm
really
sure
like
I
Spider-Man.
would like them. I just haven't, and now there's just so many of them. I'm like, no, too big of an undertaking.
Spider-Man is really, really cute, but there's so much context for the other Marvel movies. Like, there's a big connection to Iron Man. Yeah. And the Spider-Man movies.
I feel like someone needs to give me a chronological list of the movies, and I'll get there eventually.
Yeah. They're all... I mean, I have one, but...
You have it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a lot.
I'm going to see the Eternals because Richard Madden is in it.
That's it.
And Harry Styles is in it.
Supposedly.
He's in it.
Yeah. Well, Chloe Zhao.
And Chloe Zhao
directed it. Yeah.
Directed it.
Which I really want to see. She's cool.
And it looks like a fun time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good.
And it looks like I don't really have to have context.
No, because it's an original story.
They'll probably be involved in future things, Marvel Universe things, but I don't need to understand it right off the bat.
No. But yeah, that's my wonderful.
Oh, okay,
What's your song of the week and movie of
I
October?
have
movie of the
literally
week?
been trying to rack my brain for what my song of the week will be. And I can't think of one because I didn't like anything that came out this week.
Well, give me like a song you like. Mine's not a new song.
Then you give your song and I will look for my song. How about that?
Okay, I'll give my song and my movie.
Okay.
My song of the week is a song called Bloom by an artist just called Paige. I think she's a New Zealand artist. But I've been like digging her work lately. I've been kind of diving in. She's really cool. So check her out. Also, Sam Fender released an album this week, and I've talked about him on the podcast before. I'm a fan. And probably my favorite song, which will probably change because I just listened to the album today. My favorite is probably a song called Poltergeists, which is really good.
Poltergeists.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my movie suggestion is kind of a double, but I would say It and It Too, the newer ones.
Oh, yeah. So fun.
If you haven't seen them yet, they're really, really fun. They're really entertaining. And there's just a good story and really good performances. And they're definitely worth seeing. I don't think that they're blockbuster bait. I think they're actually good movies.
No, they're really, really entertaining. And I had the very good fortune of going to the It Chapter 2 premiere. And the premiere after party, which was, they made like the dairy carnival,
right?
Like county fair type of situation. It was very, very cool. The only one I cared about being there was James McAvoy, and he, of course, was not there.
Right, naturally.
But Jessica Chastain was, and she was beautiful.
Oh, she's queen.
Finn Wolfhard was there, and he was very cute and very, very, very protected.
Yeah, probably.
His brother was like around him, and nobody could get around him.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's weird. It's like, this is a kid.
Good.
Why can't he
should
socialize?
be protected, I think.
He should be, but like...
He's in an adult party. It's a premiere party. Yeah. It's not like a...
But he wasn't even like talking to the other like kid actors.
Oh, weird.
He was literally just like sectioned off.
Yeah.
It was weird. Bill Hader was there.
We love Bill Hader.
Also, is it Bill Skarsgård?
Yes.
He was there. You just get this kind of like, ugh, when you're around Bill Skarsgård. But also, like, he's also kind of cute, so it's confusing. Yeah, that was a very cool LA moment, thanks to our friend Jamie.
Yeah.
I got to go to that. I'm still struggling. Fine. I'll give a shout out to an artist that might not be that well known because he's mostly on TikTok.
Okay.
But he's very, very good. It's a rapper named Akintoye.
Yeah.
And he has a song called Overload that's really, really good. He's
nice.
The kid. If you've seen any TikToks, he's always in his like silk bonnet, like the protective hair, bonnet. He has a song in rebuttal to somebody like calling him out, not calling him out, but like being an asshole.
Yeah.
About like you with your unwashed ass. Like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Heard that song. That's Akintoye. But he's an actual artist.
Yeah.
Who has actually really good songs. He's on iTunes. He has an album out.
Good for him.
He's very good.
I don't know it, so I'll have to check him out.
Yeah. And my movie, I'm going to do a throwback.
All right.
I'm going to go with...
That's so nerdy. I'm sorry.
90s classic Fear.
Oh, Fear!
Reese Witherspoon and Mark Wahlberg.
That's a good one.
Right?
That's
Alyssa
a good one.
Milano. Okay, so we're selling it. We're selling Fear. Fear, if you haven't seen it, it's again, I say a 90s classic. It's about a high school girl who meets this new boy, falls for him. He's a bad boy. And things start going very, very wrong.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. It is played by Mikey Mock. If this was before he could control his accent, and it is.
Can he now?
It's a little bit better. Like
fair.
It was like every time he speaks in that movie, I'm like, oh my god, stop talking. Yeah. Nicole Forever.
It's a good one.
It's from that movie.
It's definitely a classic.
Like
Check
most of my favorite movies are 90s movies.
I feel like a lot of people don't know this one, so that's a good one.
Yeah, Fear's a good one.
Yeah.
Baby Reese Witherspoon.
Yes, very baby.
Yeah, like she might be 19, 20 years old.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
We got to pick.
We got to pick.
Give it a little shimmy shake. What is your next? You don't even know what's in here.
I don't know what's in here. Here I go.
Here you go. What's it say?
Favorite hometown haunting.
Okay.
I keep getting hometown
Do you
stuff.
want to switch?
No, it's fine.
Okay. I got favorite LA haunting.
Oh, we're going to have a spoopy episode.
So we got Chicago haunting, we got LA haunting. Look, I put a lot of Chicago stuff in here because I feel like we get the most enthusiastic about Chicago hauntings.
Yeah.
Also, it's just really super freaking haunted, guys.
It's super haunted.
So hometown, it doesn't have. I will let you go to Chicagoland area.
Okay. Thank you.
Technically, Chicago itself is a hometown. We did live in the city proper.
Yeah.
So you can go that far too.
Okay. I've got some ideas.
Yeah, there's some good ones there.
There are some good ones.
So I don't think that'll be a hard one for you.
No.
All right.
Fun. What was yours?
Favorite LA haunting.
Oh, LA haunting. Right.
Yeah.
You said that. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I built the Beta How Awful tour.
So I got the Chicago haunts. You got the LA haunts.
the LA
We're going to
haunts.
tell you about some ghosties next week.
We sure are.
So for those true crime fans, you can skip that episode, I guess.
Well,
or maybe not. You never know.
Technically, hauntings are almost always tied to a crime.
True.
So,
all
what's
right.
the spiel, friend?
So I'll tell you the spiel. You can find us at www.howawfulpodcast.com. You can also find us on all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. We are also on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Just search for us at How Awful Podcast. We also have a merch store now. If you go to our website, which I already just dropped the name of, you can click on store or merch. I'm not sure what it says. No. One of those things.
I think it's a store.
You can buy cool clothes and accessories.
Yep.
You can also join us on patreon.com/howawfulpodcast, where we have a special community with our listeners.
Yeah.
And if you want to join that community, please come support us there.
Because they're going to get a fun little,
They're gonna
probably drunken, haunted pub
They do get extra goodies.
video
Let's be real.
this month.
So if you want extra goodies, that's where you go.
My
If also one of our favorite things about this podcast is when we get emails. So if you could email us at howawfulpodcast@gmail.com, tell us your stories, tell us about your experiences.
Tell us about the haunted, spooky Halloween activities in your town.
We also want to know, what are you up to this October?
Yeah.
Tell us.
Do you even like October?
Yeah, we want to talk about it on the show.
Yeah.
Or we could talk about it privately. You let us know when you email us.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like us, rate us, review us, all that stuff.
All that fun
It helps us out, and we really appreciate it. And happy October, guys. I hope you guys are having a blast and watching all the movies we're recommending, and then some. Also, you can email us and tell us what you think we should be watching.
Yeah, for reference, we watched Midsummer, and why did we watch Midsummer? The more I think about that movie, the less I like it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot. Florence Pugh is a fantastic actress. Way overrated, guys. Don't know why it was everyone's favorite movie. Sorry.
Yeah.
Fight me. Email us at howawfulpodcast@gmail.com.
Here comes Halloween, Halloween.
Halloween, everybody make a suit. Here comes the pumpkin man.
Who have you been?
Me.
I've been Tanya Lee.
That's a very existential question.
And what
have I been?
what is this show? How awful.
Do your best Vincent Price voice. Say how awful.
How awful.
That was spooky. Wow.
Are you scared?
I was scared a little bit. As always, we've been B and Tanya Lee. Our logo was created by MJ Savard, and our theme music courtesy of Nikki Lou.